feel now? How does it feel? How does it feel when you're alone and you're cold inside? I love you.
Michael, can you just spin around with your arms out one time?
Spin around?
Yes. Great.
Stranger in Moscow was written when I was in Moscow on the Dangerous tour. And it was just a strange, eerie, lonely time for me. Outside my hotel was just a sea of faces of fans chanting and screaming. But I was inside my room and I felt so all alone, like I was like the last person on the planet. And in the song I say, how does it feel when you're alone and you're cold inside? I say it's like a stranger in Moscow, and that's pretty much how I felt. And the people were lovely. They were some of the nicest people I've ever met, and the concert was very successful. But that day, especially that day, I just felt this different feeling, and the song Stranger in Moscow came to me. So that's how that was written.
The delicate musicality of the song Stranger in Moscow exposes and conveys the author's deepest feelings.
And then he came out, stopped for a few seconds on the gangway, greeting the people, and instantly descended, boarded one of the limousines, and off he went.
The song, Genesis. The track was written in September 1993, while on the Dangerous World Tour stop in Moscow. It was conceived in the midst of the media hype aroused by the allegations against the artist. In the text refers to a sudden fall from grace. Between the 12th and the 18th of September 1993, Russia hosted the major international star for the first time in its history. The concert was announced with unprecedented fanfare, but the organization was chaotic and the press not very inclined to cover the arrival of the Michael Jackson phenomenon. Despite all evidence to the contrary, he was perceived as a complete unknown. In the fall of 1993, the weather was gray and gloomy in a Russia that was undergoing immense social and political change. The country rejoiced and fretted in equal measure about the arrival on its soil of the first Western megastar. The lyrics of Stranger in Moscow echo this sentiment.
Here abandoning my fame, Armageddon of the brain. KGB was stalking me, take my name but you let me be.
All of Michael's movements were planned down to the last detail, and he was accompanied everywhere. The forces of law and order were overwhelmed. Never before had so many people gathered in front of the Hotel Metropol in Moscow. In the few days leading up to his concert in the Russian capital, the singer visited orphanages and participated in military processions. On September 15, 1993, he gave his performance in the pouring rain at Loujniki Stadium, which was full only because numerous free tickets had been distributed.
And until the moment when Jackson's shadow appeared in the window of Hotel Metropol, no one really believed he had arrived.
The king of pop was both astonished and delighted by the warmth of the reception that he got from his Russian fans, who until then had been surreptitiously swapping his albums among themselves. This unique experience produced a song on which Jackson's melancholy is more apparent than on any of his other numbers. It is also pervaded by a sense of deep sadness that had never before been expressed. For the second time on the album, Michael Jackson uses the first person, revealing much of his personal and private feelings. Stranger in Moscow is heartrending. This highly emotional song invites the listener into the artist's intimate thoughts. It is an autobiographical track, and one of the clearest messages Michael ever gave. Production. Stranger in Moscow is also an act of resilience, with its rich and dazzling tonalities lifting the music above the general pathos of the lyrics. It is a rough diamond that Brad Buxer polished with his digital instruments. Stranger in Moscow was the first song to be prepared for the History album, and was developed in several Los Angeles studios once Jackson returned to the States. However, it was in New York at the Sony Music Studios and the Hit Factory that it gradually took shape. Brad Buxer spent a long time coming up with different chords to get the key and rhythms that Michael Jackson wanted, but it took them less than 2 hours to actually write the piece. The song begins with the sound of pouring rain, placing the listener directly in the nostalgic atmosphere of the theme. Then comes a plaintive and haunting rhythm that surprises with its unusual cadence. It was built on the singer's beatboxing that was then put through a compression filter to produce its own instrumental sound. The digital sounds of the strings played by Brad Buxer rise with the music and gradually merge into the narrative. The musical structure is simple and unique. It works perfectly with the despondent feel of the song and varies very little, giving a constant, sometimes agonizing, and melancholic feel to the piece. Jackson's biographer J. Randy Taraborelli has stated that the video is based on Jackson's real life. He used to walk alone at night looking for new friends, even at the peak of his musical popularity. The 1980s saw him become deeply unhappy. Jackson, as a teenager, explained in an interview, "Even at home, I'm lonely. I sit in my room sometimes and cry. It's so hard to make friends. I sometimes walk around the neighborhood at night, just hoping to find someone to talk to. But I just end up coming home."
Here abandoning my fame, Armageddon of the brain. KGB was stalking me. Take my name, but yours and let me be.